Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on another video from Cheers for Charity New Hampshire. My name is Lisa Kessler from Kessler Insurance, and I am so excited to do this video with our most recent nonprofit that we're going to be featuring. And of course, I get to do this with my wonderful friend, Joanne. Hey,
Hi, Lisa. Thank you. Yes, I'm Joanne Barchuk, and I'm with Lighthouse Physical Therapy. And it is my pleasure today to introduce to you Martha, who's with CrossRoads House. And we're looking forward to hearing, Martha, about what you guys do there.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. So if you would like to start with a slight overview of CrossRoads House, that's how you want to begin?
That'd be great. Yeah.
So CrossRoads House is located in Portsmouth, but we actually serve people from a very large area. We are an emergency shelter located in Portsmouth, serving men, women, and families from all of Eastern Rockingham County and all of Strafford County, and even some of the southern York, Maine counties as well. So while we're located right here in Portsmouth, people are coming from a large area to receive services. We are delivering emergency shelter, which is what you would think, a safe place to sleep, but so much more than that goes into all of the supportive services that we offer once people are here. That includes 3 meals a day, case management, connections to other things that people may need, like medical care, dental care, mental health care. The list goes on. Obviously, everyone needs help with housing. That's our ultimate goal, is to help people transition from homelessness back into permanent housing. So I'll stop there and let you ask more about what you'd like to hear about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. What do you find with all that? Because there is a housing crisis in this whole area, and so many more people that one can afford to live but can't find housing that they can afford. How do you go about that? And yeah, it just sounds like it's a daunting task.
It is a daunting task. It can be a little overwhelming. You know, the housing challenges in the state of New Hampshire are pretty significant right now. In the rental market, statewide, we have a vacancy rate of less than 1%. And just by comparison, a healthy rent vacancy rate would be closer to 4 or 5%. So what that means is there are very, very few apartments available. That means that they are getting more and more expensive because landlords can get more for their units. And so it's really challenging for the folks that we're serving. I mean, many people are surprised to learn that the people who are staying at CrossRoads House are working full time, but still can't afford a market rate apartment. And so that means that we need to rely on other types of housing sources, those that may be available through housing authorities that are subsidized, or people who get what's called a housing choice voucher. Some people know them as Section 8. So there are programs like these that are available to help people who can't afford a market rate apartment. The challenge with those, however, is that the waiting list can be more than a year. So here they are, they've come to an emergency shelter. We're meant to be a Band-Aid. We're supposed to just be a pass-through, but people end up staying here longer and longer because of how long it takes to find an affordable place to live.
And you can't just make them leave, right?
If you're not.
You don't.
We try not to do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, it does present a challenge. Just to kind of give you a scale, we have roughly 100 beds, and they're divided up between families and men and women. And what happens as a result of these increasing lengths of stay, one of the things that we measure, is that people end up staying longer. They're occupying a bed that's in need by someone else who may be experiencing homelessness. And so it's definitely a challenge for us. We work collaboratively with many other partner agencies in the community to try to help people be here for as short a time as possible, but it's challenging. Part of that is because of housing, and part of it is because the reasons that people become homeless in the first place can take some time to address, to stabilize folks, get them back on their feet, connect them to all the supports they're going to need to be successful once they are able to move out. So that can take some time. Even if housing were available, that still takes some time.
Mhm. So what other, so you offer like counseling services, and I guess maybe, you know, some financial, do you offer like educational support for, you know, different aspects?
Yeah, so just kind of an overview of what people get when they get here. So in addition to a safe place to sleep, 3 meals a day, every person is connected with their own case manager, and that person is going to help people navigate all the other resources that are available in the community that they might need. So as one single agency, we're not able to be everything to everyone, but we know where to find it. So we're really good at referring people. So we partner with Seacoast Mental Health Center. We have a healthcare for the homeless program where medical care comes, now that COVID has eased up a little bit, they're coming back on site to make primary medical care available here on site. So again, those are providers of another agency coming here to deliver those services for our residents. We do some programming. You mentioned educational programming. So we have 2 different curriculums that we run. One is called Ready to Work and one is called Rent Ready. And they're as they sound. One is a job preparation workshop, everything from resume writing and interview skills and everything related to getting employment. And then our Rent Ready class is a full day workshop that helps the people we serve understand landlord and tenant rights and responsibilities, how to advocate for themselves when they're applying for housing, budgeting, credit repair. We bring in a bunch of different guest speakers, New Hampshire legal aid. So we really try to do a lot of skill building for people and help them, again, advocate for themselves and be able to be successful. One of the things that's interesting we've learned, because we feel like we do a really good job supporting people while they're actually here in our shelter. But it's very difficult for people once they do ultimately move out to maintain all those supports that we've helped set up for them while they're with us. So you have to understand, CrossRoads House is open 24/7, 365. There is always someone to talk to, always someone to help out. And then you move into an apartment where all of a sudden you may be isolated, you don't have that ongoing support, you don't have that social circle of people you might be used to being surrounded with. So to address that, we actually several years ago started a program called Housing Stability Case Management. Again, just like what it sounds like, it's case management that goes out to people and helps them maintain that housing that we worked so hard together with them to secure, to avoid things that could result in an eviction. So it's really kind of an eviction prevention program.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, because I think I would see that, you know, I mean, they got there in the first place, and some habits just take a lot longer to really get fully ingrained. So that's fantastic that you are able to support them after they leave you. Can you give us a little picture about how all of this has affected you guys? Because obviously you have a lot of people in a facility, and now we're in a pandemic. And how did that affect you, and how did you kind of adjust to all of that?
Yeah, so this is a 10-minute segment, so I'll give you just the high level because we could do an hour on our COVID response, but no one really wants to hear that. Suffice it to say that literally everything we did needed to be adjusted or tweaked in some way. So you start with the fact that we're a congregate setting. So you hear about nursing homes in the news as being high-risk places for COVID. We're not that different, except that we're not delivering patient care in the way they are in nursing homes. But still, in mid-March, we had 120 people here, and that was way, way too many for us to be able to follow CDC guidelines on appropriately social distancing. And so we had a lot of work that we had to do to implement changes around all our protocols really for safety. And I think one of the most significant things that we did is we implemented it's called a decompression plan, but really it was opening a second site where we moved, at the time it was 40% of our population off site into local motel rooms. We took the people who were most medically vulnerable and we took the people who were still actively working at essential jobs. It might have been a grocery store or somewhere where coming and going every day into the shelter was an additional risk factor for those people staying here. So that was a huge undertaking. It was a very expensive undertaking. To this day, we continue that plan. We still have a percentage of our population still is housed at this other site. And, you know, it's an ongoing thing we're working on, is how do we continue to fund that, and how long will we need to have this second site available? You know, one of the things you haven't asked about, but I'll just offer up, is the demand for shelter is huge. And so we maintain waiting lists for people to come into our shelter. And we have between 100 and 150 people at any given time on our 3 lists. So families, single men, single women. And so we've just recently reopened to start doing new intakes. So we're working our way through that list, because we did successfully house people during the pandemic, which is pretty amazing that we actually helped people move out despite all the craziness. And so those beds are open and we're now filling those. But the other thing you've probably heard about on the news is that there was an eviction moratorium that helped people stay housed, and that ended on July 1st. And so there is a bit of an anticipation that there could be a wave of evictions coming, which could increase demand for shelter. So it still feels like a pretty tenuous time for us.
I bet.
So one of the things.
So you're muted, Lisa.
I know. Go ahead, Martha. Yeah, finish up. Yeah.
Okay, well, I was just going to say, one of the things I think a lot of people ask about, and I want to make sure I have time to get in, because it's just such a big part of what we do, is people often ask how we're funded. And many people assume that a homeless shelter would be very heavily government funded. And while we do receive some government support, both local cities and towns, the state and the federal government all do offer funding, but the majority of our budget comes from private donations. And one of the other things that happened during COVID is we had to cancel our one big fundraiser of the year. I'm sure you've heard this if you're talking to other nonprofits. We are not unique in this. But take the pandemic aside, on any given year, a range between 2/3 and 3/4 of our entire operating budget comes from donations and private philanthropy. And so we do a lot of grant writing. We have one big fundraiser a year. We do a lot of work around sharing our needs with the community, because without the support, we quite literally would not be able to exist. So, you know, that's one of the things that I think we work hard to share our mission and how we're fulfilling that, so people who are interested in supporting us can feel good about the fact that we are fulfilling our mission.
Thank goodness you are. So important. So as part of that, you know, you're not doing your major fundraiser. What are the things that you think the key things that people need to know about CrossRoads House that we haven't covered? Like specific that, you know, people ask a lot, or people are most surprised about, or is sort of the biggest impactful ways that you make a difference to our neighbors, you know,
Yeah.
families. And
there's a lot of different ways to answer that. I think the one thing that's worth sharing is that homelessness can touch anyone at any time, especially now during the pandemic. A lot of people are struggling. You know, I think that there's a stereotype of people who are homeless, and that is not necessarily accurate if you just based it on what you might see in, you know, in the media and films. We have children here, we have families, we have young adults, we have elderly people, we have like pretty much every cross section. We have veterans, we have people who are working full time, we have people who are disabled. Not everyone who is homeless has a substance use disorder. Some do, some have mental health issues. So it's complex. I think that's a really important thing to recognize, is that no two people are the same. I've had many instances over my career in doing this where people have shared with me personal stories of someone in their family who's experienced homelessness. So I think that that's just something to be aware of. The other thing I normally talk about, which is a little bit on hold right now, but it's worth sharing, is that we rely very heavily on volunteers. So anyone listening to this who wants to get involved and help, Normally, we have our volunteers cooking and serving dinner 7 nights a week, 365 days a year. And there's other projects around gardening and helping with childcare during family meetings and helping with some of our holiday parties. So there's a lot of great ways to roll up your sleeves and get involved. Again, once we get back to reopening, we have not yet had our volunteers come back on site just for safety precaution reasons. But we really are looking forward to that. And our volunteers are kind of chomping at the bit. Right now, they are cooking meals for us remotely and dropping them off. So we do need volunteer help now. So there are ways that people can help out even though they can't come on site to do so. All this information lives on our website at crossroadshouse.org. The other thing I would suggest people who want to learn more about us is we have some great videos, very short videos on our website that really humanize what we do. I mean, I could talk all day about our services and what we do, what we deliver, and our outcomes, but it's very different to hear in the words of people who have stayed here and been through what it feels like to not have a place to sleep at night and what it looks like on the other side to have successfully addressed their issues and be able to move out and really have a fresh start at life. And I love the storytelling aspect of that. And I think it really, again, it humanizes homelessness, which is something that a lot of people just have never had any experience with. And so that's a great way, I think, to learn more about what we do and the impact that we have as an agency and that people in the community can help us achieve our goals, whether it's volunteering, donating. No amount is too small, no amount is too big. There are a lot of different ways that people can help us. So I would encourage people to learn a little bit more if they're interested.
Yeah, that is so great. And we're so fortunate in our community to have so many great organizations, and you know, the services that you guys provide are so invaluable to these people that have come under unfortunate circumstances sometimes and have no place else to go, and you guys help them get there. So our thank you to you for what you guys do and provide to our community.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for all you're doing. And thank you for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Great. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.